Thank you. Let me just record.
We'll get this started. We see John Chaplin walking in, but I will talk slowly to get him a chance to get here. I call to order the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency Executive and Park Committees meeting on December 3rd, 2025 at 9:01 a.m. Allie, do we have any guests online?
We do not.
Can we let's acknowledge our guest in person?
Yes, in person, we have Mr. Bob Sears from Berkshire Blake Hathaway, Lou Morocco, also from Berkshire Blake Hathaway, Connor McCoy from MBT Bank, and Bob Holmes from RU Holmes Engineering.
Great. Sounds good. And then if we can get a roll call, please.
Perfect. Trisha Rogers. Here. John Tafflin. Tim Robinson. Here. Juan Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum. We have 4 out of 5.
Great. And no guest online still?
No.
All right. In the meeting packet on starting on page 2 is the IDA Executive Park nominating meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Page.
Okay. 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 Sorry about that. I'll get that fixed.
Entertaining a motion to accept the minutes with the one edit. Tim second. John, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, we with Dan not here, we'll turn it over to Chuck for the IDA reports on committee of Canal Side and the Airport Industrial Park.
Okay, so good morning. As usual, a lot going on. I have my prepared remarks, so please stop me anytime if there are any questions. As far as our water capacity expansion, as already reported, LaBelle has finalized the master plan report previously included in November 17th board package. The IDA board approval of the water MPR requires an amended seeker that will have the IDA as the lead agency. LaBelle is preparing the seeker environmental impact report and the environmental assessment form part 1 answers, and we plan to have the seeker public notice package ready at the December 15th board meeting for approval. We'll send it out, and then there'll be the 30-day public notice period including affected agencies, and then on January 19th the IDA board will in public session complete part 2 and part 3 of the review. Given the simple nature of the project, we are cautiously optimistic that there'll be a negative declaration. In this case, we will then seek the IDA board approval of the water MPR and then advance to the town of Fort Edward for legal formation of the out of village water district. Any questions about that? One other element with the seeker is we're going to combine 4 projects with the seeker. We're going to do the MAP water MPR. We're going to do water district formation on behalf of the town. We're also going to do the sewer MPR, and then we're going to do the East Street Road access widening project in the package too. So it's going to be 4 projects, 1 seeker. And we've talked with the village, we talked to the town, we talked to Canal Corp, and they all agree they'd like us to be lead agency. So that's a beautiful thing. It will be a big package that LaBelle will be presenting in the next week or 2, but it's nice for efficiency purposes to get it through all in one combined package. Any questions about that? And you might recall we did this, well, 2 years ago, we did the secret question. So it will be a lot of fun for those who have not done that.
To the board.
Bring your coffee. Going on with the water capacity, LaBelle has engaged the railroad authorities regarding East Street Railroad crossing. Survey work has been completed and engineering design at 60% completion is completed and has been submitted to the railroad for their review. And that's it for water unless there are any questions. The new wastewater, as you know now, we're focusing on connection to Washington County Sewer District. We have a potential buyer of our site that needs only a sanitary connection for employees and does not generate commercial wastewater. This scenario reduces the scope and cost of the sewer connection. For example, a business with 100 employees requires only 1,500 gallons per day capacity. And as a reminder, we were looking up to 100,000 gallons capacity. So given the scope of less need for capacity, we expect, as I mentioned, this to go faster and be less expensive. We are working with Labella for a connection to East Street, which is just obviously right next to the property. As you might recall, we were talking about a 6,000-foot run down to the sewer district facility. Now we can connect closer right into East Street. More to come on that. There will be some permitting with this, though, both with the DEC, Canal Corp, and possibly easement with WCC for the run of the sewer connection. Moving on to the East Street back entrance project, Bob Holmes, our consulting engineer, has drafted concept drawings for widening the road from 1 to 2 lanes. And we're working to get those drawings ready for the DEC and the Canal Corp permitting process. And Dan has been working closely with Bob. I'll let Bob speak in a moment, but let me also point out that Labella was retained to address the DEC wetland permitting, the initial SHPO state review, endangered species review, environmental assessment seeker review, and Labella was able to schedule a DEC visit to the site in late October, which is very good before the snow is on the ground. Labella has completed the wetland delineation report, and overall, Labella is working very quickly to get through regulatory issues, so we'll be on time for getting the project done this spring. With that, I'll pause, and Bob, do you have anything to add as far as what's going on with the project?
I think at a high level, that's mostly what you've got. Labella had asked me for an update on some progress design drawings, which I'm going to probably be getting that out here end of day. They come back with a bullet list asking for questions that we document on the drawings, so that can be part of not only the design and construction of the road, but also for the wetland permitting. We're obviously dealing with that 100-foot setback buffer with the DEC wetlands that canal side.
You can bring that from me. No. Sorry about that. We got a board member walking in.
You got it.
Let me just add that the McFarland working for the county has asked us for the schedule of our project, and Bob and I and Labella met earlier this week. One was on the call, and we're anticipating the engineering work will be done by the end of December. We're anticipating the permitting with New York State, except Canal Corp, will be done by March. We're expecting to have the construction bid and award process done by the end of March, and then Canal Corp final permitting. We'll be working with Canal Corp during all this, but once we award to a company, then they'll have certain criteria that the construction company will need to deal with. So we expect their final permitting, Canal Corp, at the end of April, and then construction to start in May and be done by the end of June. McFarland has asked us not to go beyond the end of June and if possible move up a month. So Bob and I will be working with Bella to see if there's any opportunity for us to accelerate the timeline. It is tight, and we obviously do not want to hold up the replacement of the Lock 8 way bridge replacement, because that will be very disruptive to the county and to the area. So that's it on, bless you, on the bridge, the detour project, unless there are any questions. Want anything to add to that? Okay. On the new natural gas supply, a prospective buyer has expressed the need for natural gas. We've asked the prospective buyer to complete the National Grid natural gas connection form with specific needs identified so the National Grid can evaluate the request. So that right now is in the hands of this prospective buyer, and then we'll move on to National Grid. Moving on to maintenance. We are working with SMS Rail and Our Electric to establish a new snow removal plan, especially after Kiwa vacates the property, which they are anticipating by the end of December. They've done a lot of snow removal for us, so with them backing off, SMS Rail will probably take more of what Kiewit was doing for us. And both SMS and our elected have expressed no concern. They believe they'll be able to handle snow removal without any problem. Moving on to 10 updates, I mentioned Kiewit is winding down. And then, of course, Berkshire Hathaway Blake Realty has a company, again, a potential buyer who's very interested in the property. We are expecting a letter of intent to be presented to us over the next couple of months. Any questions on Canal Corp or Canal side before I go on to the airport? Okay, in the airport, there's 4 updates. First, on the Ferguson Lane extension and new wetland rules. Steve George has submitted a jurisdictional determination to DEC regarding the Ferguson Lane extension, wetlands and roadway access to the developable area. He just called Bob before the meeting started. Anything else to report on?
He confirmed the same as my question to you is, DEC had promised us here about 3 weeks ago, an official correspondence basically stating jurisdiction over the 100-foot setbacks to the wetlands. Steve has asked for some clarifications on why. We don't know what that answer will entirely be, but we're planning on jurisdiction, and we're also planning on that we're not going to have a permit requirement for the access into the property. And if you recall, we mentioned before that the reason for that is when we went through the seeker process for the original subdivision back in 2006, that basically paved the way to assure access into the property. And at this point, we're in a little bit of a waiting game until we have that official correspondence, and then Steve says we may have to react from there to either gain a better understanding of why they want to go about this the way they are, or if there's any wiggle room for other alternatives. You know, can their access be gained to that property? But at this point, I think anticipate that a future buyer would have to go through a permit process if they wanted to do any development within that lot.
Okay, so more to come. We'll work diligently with the DEC to try to get things in right order so someone can eventually develop the land. Just moving on to my second point, Berkshire Hathaway Blake Realty has a local business person interested in buying that 26-acre area. And as soon as we get through these, the DEC wetland issues, they will submit an application to purchase the property. They have informally talked to Kingsbury, and Kingsbury is very supportive of this potential business moving into this area of the airport industrial park phase 2. I'm moving on to the third point, Glens Falls Rotary Project. Yes. It may not. They talked about phasing into the property, perhaps initially a small building, a small footprint that may not hit the criteria that's worthwhile to do the incentive program, but future plans there could kick into something that gets into the right price range. Third item is Glens Falls Rotary. As you might recall, they're looking at the 20-acre site in the middle of the airport industrial park phase 2 that is heavily impacted by wetlands for potential tree farm. Rotary leaders attended the Kingsbury Town Board meeting on October 21st and received favorable feedback. Right now, they and I are engaged in neighbors for informal feedback on the project concept. And more to come on that. And then finally, the airport industrial park phase 1. You might recall we have the very southern lot that's for sale that both by George was looking at years ago. It's heavily impacted by wetlands. Happens to be that a neighboring property owner would like to buy this site that is the appraised value is only $2,600 because of it being so heavily impacted by wetlands. And that person will be submitting an application to purchase the land this week. And we might have it teed up for the December IDA board meeting, but it might fall to January if things aren't good order. But we do have a serious prospective buyer for that piece of property. And that's it, unless there are any questions on the airport industrial park. Conceivably, all the properties we have for sale will be sold in 2026. We have interested buyers in all the pieces of property we own.
Then the hard work begins. Great, thank you so much, Chuck. Any final mulligans needed for Canal Site or Airport Industrial Park? All right, let's move on to any ongoing business. Any new business?
As a heads up, we have a new incentive application coming in for a company in Northburg looking to do a housing project. We're in completeness review right now. I'm not sure about the timing, probably a January board meeting. And it's a small project, $1.4 million. But it's nice to be helping out the housing issues in Warren County where it's it's mixed, actually. Two commercial on the bottom floor. Was it
5.
4 or 5 on the second floor? An old building, really along the main street, right near the center of Warrensburg. And it's going to be a real nice improvement because right now the building's in tough shape. So this is kind of a win-win-win. On Main Street, right next to the hotel. You know where the bandstand is, the hotel, right next to the hotel, just north of it. Just north. Yeah. And then they've been engaging Warrensburg, and apparently Warrensburg has been very favorable on the project. What's that? Ally's taking a look at the application there.
They mentioned workforce, but then they had an estimate of their rents, which isn't not workforce rate. So I would more to come, but I'm guessing market rate.
Probably market. So that's just a heads up that we have another application. Yeah.
All right, any other new business for the IDA? Turn it over to Ally to talk about the CDC CD.
Yes, this portion is for the CDC. Let me make that clear. It's not the IDA. So a year ago, the board approved, the executive committee and the board approved the CD of $50,000 from the checking account invested into a CD. At that point, it was 4.2%. It expired in 6 months, so it was renewed at 3.95, and it is up for renewal again. The past 6 months at the 3.95%, $1,010.94 was earned in interest, and it expires on December 10th. And I'm looking for approval to renew it once again. The interest rate won't be determined until December 10th, which I will let the board know.
So will we just be approving this to move it to the full board meeting?
Right.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the CD. 10 second, John. Your roll call, Ally.
Yep. Trisha Rogers.
Yes.
John Taflet.
Yes.
Tim Robinson. Juan Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Any other new business? Any other business? Any public comments? You have anybody online?
We do not.
All right. Let me do my best Kara impersonation here. I will entertain a motion to move into executive session with no action being taken afterwards. Moving into executive session due to the proposed sale of real property when publicly would substantially affect the value of the sale. I'll entertain a motion for that. John, second. Tricia. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Will we adjourn out of the
We will
executive?
be adjourning.
Okay, thank you.